Since I don't see anybody having left the meeting, I take it everybody's okay with recording the session. So I will call the March 14th, 2023 Executive Board meeting to order and call the roll. I'm Randy Bauer and I am present. Vice President Kevin Pryor.
Present.
Vice President of Finance Chuck Unruh.
Present.
Secretary Fun Fong.
Here.
Members at large Mike Huffpar. David Day.
Here.
David Hayter.
Present.
John Fernandez.
Present.
Executive Director Carol Meyer.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum. They're all members of the executive board are present. The first order of business, are there any new disclosures of conflicts of interest since our last meeting? Hearing none, we'll move on. The February 2023 minutes are included from February 14th on Valentine's Day, and I heart you all for being present at that meeting. Anybody have any discussion of the minutes?
Move that we accept the minutes as stated.
That's so moved. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 8-0. Next order on the business is quarterly financial report. Well, I don't know, Carol, do we want to do the minutes from the annual delegates meeting? You're on mute, Carol.
We don't actually approve the
Oh, we don't.
delegate minutes. That those are done by the delegates. We just reviewed them and
Yeah.
if everybody's comfortable, we can go ahead and post them. That's really what we've been waiting for.
I went through them. I thought they were fine. I know there's been at least one inquiry on the US Chess Issues Forum as to, why aren't the
Yes.
minutes posted? So it probably makes sense unless anybody has objections.
Carol, you and I have been talking about at least one issue with the government's committee, with our governance people on how that's worded. Has that been resolved?
Yeah, the motion reflects what the chair stated at the time the motion.
Yeah,
was
okay.
made.
So long as that's the case, then that's fine.
Yeah, I was also brought up to speed on that issue. I think that it looked like the wording
Okay.
was as you had suggested it would be. Okay, so hearing no objections, I'd say you can go ahead and post those. So now with that little detour, I'll recognize Vice President of Finance Chuck Unruh for the financial report.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's been an exciting week for the finances. But I assure you that US Chess is very solid. We have sent out a dashboard of the recent finances. I hope everyone had time to see it. It's steady as it goes. Membership is strong. The laggard in it, of course, are investments. With the failing bank in California, our investments took a dive and then recovered today as the Federal Reserve went in and underpinned the Silicon Valley Bank. Part of that was their bond portfolio. It was the bonds that were in trouble, and we hold a significant bond exposure, but nothing serious. I mean, today we recovered most of it. Now, there is one serious issue that we addressed during the week, and I say we, the investment committees. And that serious issue was that the bank sweep in Schwab looked a little iffy. Schwab lost 30% in a matter of 2 days. So we actually came out of the bank sweep and went into individual cash deposits with no more than 250,000 at one bank. In fact, across all of the portfolios tonight, we have 301,000 worth of free cash. most of it, 178,000, is in the reserve fund. Now the rest is in CD ladders. I didn't count up the number of banks, but we are fast approaching funds in 30 different banks, and all of them are viable. And each bank will have a 250,000 minimum of insurance. This is how I thought we could secure our cash position without a lot of risk. And the committees have agreed with me, and we've moved forward. And as I said, only the RF has significant free cash. Now, on the other side of that, when I say free cash, well, how accessible is our cash? All of the cash deposits are on the secondary market, meaning that in 3 days, we could have it back with a small penalty. So our liquidity is not hampered by going into these CDs. In fact, our CDs have an average now of 200 days and over 4.5% across the board. These are really good numbers. Today, we took down a couple 100,000 in CDs, and we received 5.25 for our money. Now, and that's on 373 days. Why that's significant? We could have done exactly what everyone else is doing at this time, but I think the herd's going over the cliff. They're buying treasuries, and the treasury bonds went up in price because the yields are falling from the inordinate amount of purchases, people running to safety, flight to safety. So we chose, in the sense of looking at CDs and knowing that the treasury and the government is going to underpin the banks, we chose that to go into cash deposits exactly when everyone else was leaving. So that's one of the reasons our rates are so high. So I feel really good about this evening, that we're very solid. We're insured by the law. It doesn't get any better. It's risk-free, it's tax-free, and we didn't have to sign up for more than a year. So that's my report this evening. We're well ahead of budget, and we're very, very solid. Carol can talk a little more about operations, but those numbers were all in line. Like I said, the investments were dragging a little from last month. What is the difference? Go ahead. I'm sorry. Somebody
No,
had a
go
question?
ahead, Chuck. I thought you were finished. Go
No, I was
ahead.
almost finished. I got discombobulated. Yeah. Well, what's interesting, when we look at Silicon Valley Bank, their average bond was 1.78%. They were mostly invested in treasuries. Our bond funds are north of 7%. Some of them are 9 and 10%. So without our funds coming out from underneath the endowment, our reserve fund, we will eventually heal ourselves on the rule of 72. Our distributions will overtake the Federal Reserve tightening. And that's very important. There was nothing, every bank in America that I know of could not stand a run on the bank. By definition, they're usually 12 to 1 leveraged. So an 8% run almost wipes out the equity in a bank. Well, we don't have that. And I want to assure everyone that we are very solid financially. Thank you, Carol. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of remarks. I think Chuck said it best when he said, steady as it goes. I do want to call everyone's attention to, I guess I'll call them the raw financials that are not included with the dashboard, but sort of the detail level that we get via Excel. In preparation for budgeting, our budget meeting next month, I met with the folks at Altruic and Deborah last week, and we made some minor modifications to the budget to actual statement, you'll see that we no longer are tracking the deferred membership revenue on that statement. It just cleans it up so that it's much more presentable and you can actually see the amount of money that's being booked in a month to a particular membership class. So that's one change we made. The other change we made was to take the restricted donations accounts and group everything together in the same, series, numeric series, and where appropriate, each one of those sub accounts that we raise money for and have, the expense side against, will have a donation account under it, which is individual funds, a grants account, and a sponsorship account. Because as our programs grow and our funding diversifies, we need to be able to track those kinds of things more readily for grant reporting and those kinds of things. So those adjustments are going to be a little bit further down on the budget to actual. Regarding the membership deferred revenue, you'll still see that as a liability over on the balance sheet. I mean, we're still tracking it. We're just not showing it in the other statements. So everything looks steady, as Chuck said, and I don't have a lot of concern right now.
Any questions for either Chuck or Carol?
There was one change that I noticed was furniture and fixtures. A huge drop. Was that just like a move thing?
Yeah, I mean, we got rid of a lot of furniture. We donated it to the Habitat for Humanity reuse restore in Crossville. But was it just that line item or overall depreciation?
No, it was the overall line item.
Yeah.
I was just looking for like big percentage changes, and I think I missed it last time around.
Well, I got to watch firsthand Carol put together a bunch of new furniture when we moved into the new offices. So
Just chairs, Randy, just chairs.
well done. Okay, seeing no further questions, I believe that's the last item on the open agenda. And I think we're gonna go into closed session.
Okay, yes.
Somebody. Going back into open session for our March 14th, 2023 meeting. We've had a lengthy discussion on a number of issues in closed session. There are a couple of motions that are coming out of closed session. The first motion by the executive board is that the executive board authorizes the executive director to enter into a consulting contract with APCO International. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 8-0. David, did you have someone else have a motion coming out?
So I make a motion that the executive board vote to uphold the membership suspension of Thomas Connolly that was recommended by the ethics committee.
You've heard the motion. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes 8-0. Are there any other motions that came out of the closed session? Seeing none. We did have a couple of issues, some updates. Carol, did you want to update on the 2022-2023 audit?
Yes, so the firm that we've used for the last several years has agreed to do one more year. I haven't yet received the engagement letter, but we'll be moving forward with them. And my conversation with them was that we can get started before June 1. We don't have to wait until then. So we're hoping to see some things start to happen in May, maybe late April after the tax season is done. So that was good news because we really didn't have time to try to find a new firm.
Anybody, Chuck or anybody else have any questions or discussion on that? Okay. There's also an issue related to prison chess partnership.
Yeah, so Russ Makovsky, who runs the Impact Coaching Network in New York City, also has a nonprofit that's doing a lot of good work both in the United States and abroad, getting equipment to schools in Africa. But he also has a robust prison chess program, and the Kansas Department of Correction this past weekend held a US chess rated tournament at one of its institutions. They're going to be continuing that at all 5 DOC institutions in the state of Kansas. And then I think they're supposed to have a corrections wide championship that will be done online when all 5 institutions have named their champions to compete in this event. And some of the strategic work that we've done is talking about chess as a rehabilitative tool. And I think this is a really fine application that Russ has found and gotten the support from at the state level for such an activity. So kudos to Russ, and, appreciate the opportunity to work with the department in Kansas to make it happen.
Well, we've talked about different kinds of national championships. We could have prison national championship tournament. It would have to be online, of course. Any other discussion on or questions for Carol on that? I think that is great, Carol. Thank you. That's all that I had for. Is there any other excuse me, business or discussion for any of the board members?
Not to prolong this, but let's be happy that we hit 100,000 members for the first time ever. And Friday night was the celebratory blitz, online blitz. Judith Starry did the TDing for us. Event went really, really well. We likened the takedown of our staff members. They had a bounty on them, and we likened it to a dunking booth. And so we had, I think, 5 staff members participate, and by all accounts, everybody had a really nice time. So over 400
Great.
players signed up
Yeah.
or played in it.
I mean, we should, I think, certainly celebrate successes, crossing the 100,000 member line for the first time. The fact that we're having record setting attendance at our national scholastic events. These are all, examples of the good things that are going on with US chess at the moment. And that's great. Without any other business, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 We are adjourned.
Good night.